ahead and turn the time over to Mike for some information on project management.
Cool. All right. See if that's broadcasting. It should be this nice, friendly shade of purple. I'm Mike Hansen. I'm with the Oddbit team. And what I wanted to do is talk a little bit about a tool that we've created, and I think we've refined it to the point where we want to roll it out. So we'll call that, today the ribbon cutting day or whatever. But before we just talk about the simple tool, I need to back up a little bit and talk about why we built the tool this way. Those that have reviewed it have asked some pretty consistent questions, and I hope this answers it. I could title this presentation, why it's critical that DHRM, creates more hoops for me because, for other people. You'll see why. I'm going to answer that question. It looks like we're creating hoops. It actually streamlines things, I would argue. So. First thought is PowerPoint needs to go to the next slide. DHRM, just like any other organization out there, needs a way to prioritize. We need a way to say yes. We need a way to say no. Most importantly, we need a way to get things done. We think project management is a discipline that'll help with that myth of organizational multitasking. If you don't relate to the picture here, then I'd invite you to come on over to my office. Though I don't keep it on Post-it notes, digitally I've got about this going on. And that's not a good thing. I mean, would you, just as a thought, and it's a cool picture, I think, but it's also kind of striking. If you were running a project, do you want this person on your team? Just think about that. Projects, that's the big definition that I get to answer a lot. It's like, what is a project? It's something that starts and stops. And this graphic, wow, that made so much more sense last night. Anyway, the three-legged stool thing, that's really bad. Anyway, there's trade-offs with projects, right? If you want it to go faster, then the cost is going to go up or the quality is going to go down. You can't have everything. And so that's what we see a project as at the highest level. And then also, within any organization, you have what's called the portfolio. And the portfolio is something that, this is Debbie's job. She needs to make sure that we are recruiting and we're compensating and we're training and, we're doing stuff like that. She brings on directors to run programs. So the comp and benefits team is running the comp and benefits program of DHRM, right? So projects are things that live within programs. Sometimes they can be with outside, but for what we're doing, projects are supporting each program in the department. And the question is, well, who drives those projects? And the answer to that is hopefully you will do that. Oddbit wants to help, but we don't think that we should drive every project. We think we're a good partner, though. I think projects can create a positive impact, but only if they're done with forethought, deliberately. I don't know if you've ever experienced, there's so many slides I wanted to put in here about, the schizophrenic organization that's doing 10 things at once, and then I realized I was probably stepping on the toes of a lot of, India-type religions and stuff, because that's where all the graphics go for that, with the Vishnu arms. Changing the subject, so one example. So when you're doing a project deliberately, you've got Oddbit and DTS. When you look at any project in the department, I swear most of them have to have some kind of digital component. And those are your resources, but being, within that, I can say we've got to be very careful on how we use those resources because they are very limited. They are very shared. And so if you put yourself in our share, when somebody in the field, for example, asks for something, we want to put it on a list because what we hear from the request is this is critical. We've got to have this right now. But we just heard that 20 minutes ago from the person that got there before you, and we're going to hear that 20 minutes later from the person that's coming after you. Right, so we have to know, we have to have kind of a strategic roadmap to help sort through which one goes first. Also, is the thought of get a rock. I've been teaching this one to my kids. They're starting to pick up on it. If I just said the words, hey, I need a rock, and you want it to be that one on the top, you shouldn't get torqued if you get anything on the bottom. And that thing, again, that was a late night slide. I don't know, the Homer rocks. Anyway, but you shouldn't be ticked if, you ask somebody to dig a trench and they dig it in the wrong spot. Because you just told them to dig a trench, right? A lot of the requests that come into DTS and the Oddbit team are get me a rock kind of stuff. So what we have to do is ask up front. And this is how we're going to do that. So what I'm going to do is, this is the home page. I'm going to trade over to the actual site. The URL is on the gateway. I'll show you where. That's, I don't know how much I'm lagging. But right there, just under the odd bit, we tried to just put one thing there so it's easy to find, but it's one of 100 links. So our long-term plan, of course, is when the new gateway comes up, we would like to make our stuff a lot more, accessible, a lot more easy to find. But for now, what we're doing is just a simple Google site. So anyway, this is the home page. And so the idea behind this home page is it's a dashboard of the major projects that we're doing in the department right now. This doesn't have everything on it yet, but you remember salt and pepper. So that was a project that we're working on. We think it's going well. This is it's a Gantt chart of Gantt charts. This screen that you're looking at, this actually links into our project management software that we use for individual projects. So anyway, it rolls up into this, and so we think that salt's going well, cocoa's in process, and so forth. You can see where it goes. There's a gateway. Is something we're doing to strengthen the support, and we're just kicking off a new exit interview project. So you can kind of see where we're going with that. To know what project you want to do, you obviously need to have your goals in order. So we put this tab in here to remind everybody of the pillars that were talked about at the summer meeting. This is a Prezi that does not go well over GoToMeeting, so I'm going to leave it alone. But I invite you to check it out. Each one of these little circles is a salt and pepper goal. If you haven't seen this, it's very interesting because we categorized it into the different systems, and there's just a few on strength and the support. This side is training, and this side is process improvement. I'm hoping that you're going to say, wow, this project management stuff is way process improvement. So, but you can see also, we're trying to indicate with the, you probably can't see it, with the light blue line though, goals that are getting done already, salt and pepper. So I'm pretty excited to see that. If you want to propose a project, before I show you the actual form, this is the highest level is how you do it. And you'll note there's no login. We're trying to invite anyone in the department who has an idea. We're just saying, ideas come from everybody. Submit them. They'll go through the same process. So ideas generated, and then it comes to the oddbit team, and what we do is we create a Google Doc out of that. And there are kind of a few questions that you have to answer to propose a project. But what we'll do is then we'll flesh out some of those details, and when we think it's like a right proposal, we're not deciding whether it's right or wrong. We're just trying to get like the cost answered and the time it takes to program it or whatever. Then it goes to a senior leadership group. We meet every Monday, and that group reviews the proposal. We want it to be, like I say, ripe enough that they can make a decision that this is a go or a no-go, not go back and get more information, because that just takes forever. So we hope we do a lot of the pre-screening there. And once it's done, and the senior leadership group says, yeah, this is the greatest idea ever, then that project is kind of christened. It's got its charter, and it takes off, and it's a legit part of the department. It's something that we're doing, and you'll see it on that same homepage over there. So to show you how to propose a project, you remember how we said that a project is something that starts and stops. We think it's actually a little bit more detailed, and so we invite you to take this quick little survey over here. Does it require funding? More than your just regular salary? Do you need to dedicate resources to it? If yes, then it probably is a project, and we'd ask you to go through this form over here, answer a couple of questions to help us understand a little bit more about it. But without going through the whole form, you can click through this because I know you're stoked to do that. Just don't jump off this quite yet. These are the questions. You're going to get 3 or 4 questions on each one of these issues. What's the details? Like, what is it? What's the current situation like, and where do you need us to go? For the gateway, for example, that was, we have 1,000 links, and it's hard to find stuff, and people don't know how to search and whatever. And so the ideal is we want it to be really intuitive, and we want to increase use of other areas of the gateway. Where, those are the kind of answers. They don't have to be essays, but they have to give us some detail, so you're not just asking us to get a rock. We need to know what goal it aligns to, kind of a little bit of an important detail there. Communications is always important with any project. So there's a communications plan that is out there that has some great questions. We have those questions in here. We realize that you might not know how much the software costs or whatever, or licensing that you'd need for it and so forth. So we ask you just to make your best guess on the resource requirements, but Oddbit's particularly dialed into, and of course the DTS team to help finishing that part out. And then just the return on investment. Just it's like, what are we really going to buy when we get this, And those kind of questions are in there. And then if you want to, spout some other virtues of the project, we give you a box to do that. But that's it. And then what happens, as I said earlier, that goes into the Oddbit team. We do a pre-screening, and then we go and we start talking to the proposer, and we say, now is this what you meant, and then we start to talk to finance and DTS and whoever we have to talk to help you get that done. So that's for big projects, like we showed on that homepage there. But what if you just need like a report or something like that out of the Oddbit team? If you just need support and it doesn't require somebody from the comp team and somebody from training and whatever, if you just need stuff from the Oddbit group, I wanted to show you this. This is actually how we do business. There's a form up here, and I know this sounds like, again, another hoop to jump through. It's very easy. It's who you are, who you are, where you're coming from, where do you want to go, and the short name, the details. If you need to, explain it a little bit more, we need to know about that. Which agency is requesting the report? We found some stuff earlier this year where it was actually a request from, I think it was legislative audit, but we didn't know that in our team. That was just a get me a rock thing. So we put it in our pile, and we said, yeah, we'll get to it. It was somebody's posted on somebody's screen, and then when somebody started, rattling chains, we said, well, what? Yeah, we'll get to that. And they said, no, it's the legislature's asking for this. Get it now. We had no idea. So we'd appreciate it if you let us know. And then who the final audience would be. I know there's some things. The intermediate audience would be the department. Something I would produce, our team would produce for, say, Debbie or Wendy. But the real final audience is, cabinet. Does that make sense? So we need some information on that. Again, there's goal alignment there. That just helps us a little bit to understand where we're spending all our time and stuff. And then file attachments. If you have something, a scope of work or whatever, you can attach stuff there. And then this one's pretty important. It's when do you need it? We've had so many requests where we get the request and we treat them all, get a rock. And so we'll put it in the queue, and then we get it done. And they're like, oh, thanks. I don't actually need that till January. And so, we don't need that in our life. So if we could get that information, that's very helpful. So what you do, though, when that happens, you get this box down here that I'm just realizing is too small. This is our queue. And what we do is we take projects that we understand. We've called you back and we said, now, do I understand it right? You want this. And so this one under the red bar is the stuff we do in a week-long sprint. I just realized I didn't change the due date. That was brilliant. But anyway, we're trying to work in 1 week periods. And so, we're trying to get most of these done within that 1 week period. There's some that we find out actually are pretty gnarly, and that's probably why you gave them to us or something. But they're going to take a little bit longer than that. But for the most part, this is our to-do list. So we go through, and as we get these done, we make notes to ourselves internally, and anybody can see this. And then when we're done, we check it off. And then on Monday, as things are proposed, if they aren't an emergency, where you submit it and then you walk over and say, no, really, the governor just asked for this kind of thing, those emergencies go straight into our to-do list. But if they're ones that are coming, or that can wait just a little while, we put them in what we call our queue, which is right now down to 5 projects, which is pretty awesome. So that's the stuff that the senior leadership group will come. I give a report on Monday of how we did on our assignment for last week as far as Oddbit goes. And then they help prioritize this group in here, the queue. And they'll say this one can wait, or get this one first, or whatever. The blue is a little self-serving. Is a little self-serving thing down there to just remind us, of the stuff we have to do all the time. But then you can see where this is kind of our graveyard of stuff we've finished. So these are not little, quick turnaround projects. These are pretty decent projects in the odd-bit team, and we're up to 69 of them just since we built this tool. So we're not bored, but we just wanted to show, to be totally transparent, because we are a shared resource with the rest of the department. We just wanted to know kind of where we're at. Okay, so just to recap, we do need, I hope you can see, that's why we need kind of a formal project management discipline. In the short term, something that we need to keep in mind, operational excellence, the whole point behind it is to do improvement projects. And these are not little projects. These are projects that result in a 25% increase in what we're doing, or an improvement in what we're doing. So those projects will be coming very soon. We needed a discipline to be able to help channel those so that we're not, the guy with the Post-it notes. Long term, we think it'll help us culturally to just get more stuff done. Line it up, do one thing at a time, you'll get much more stuff done. Kill the multitasking and make sure that the stuff we're working on is the stuff we're supposed to be working on. All right? I usually avoid asking for questions because that never goes well for me, so...
Too bad, because you've already got some that came in.
Shocked.
Got a few questions that have come in. Kim Diamond Smith asks, can you remind us what odd-bit stands for?
That's why I don't ask for questions. No, organizational development is the first part. That's our operational excellence stuff. That's kind of the main reason why I think we were put together. But the bit is business intelligence team. Business intelligence, it's just basically when you have a ton of data, it's just noise. You got to have somebody that can help find the signal inside the noise, if that makes sense. So that's an odd bit. I don't know. Debbie calls us bit odd, but whatever.
All right, another question that came in, just to be clear, when we enter our salt and pepper plan into Google Docs and we also enter the SMART goals in Google Docs, do they automatically transfer to the DHRM project management portal?
Yes and no. What we're doing with the salt and pepper goals, we found we got two different kinds of goals. Not a bad thing. It's just, we did ask for short-term and long-term, so that's probably on us. The idea Debbie had with salt and pepper was not to turn everything you're doing upside down. That's my job with operational excellence. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that out loud. But I think what she was saying, the reason why it's called salt and pepper is supposed to be, the little extra thing we can do to kind of nudge our way forward is a Kaizen kind of idea. When you did those go into a kind of their own process because some of them are really, quick turnaround stuff. You don't need a project manager assigned to you. You don't need stuff like that. Other ones that are pretty involved, yeah, they aren't yet, but they will be turning into major department projects. I hope that answered the question.
Kim, let us know if that did not answer the question. I think it did, but Kim will let us know. Paul Morley submitted this question. Can you expand a little bit on the scope of when projects need to go through this new case management? Well, I think he's meaning the new portal.
Yeah.
Do all projects need to go through the system and they're subject to approval, or are they only projects that require odd-bit and or DTS support?
Very good question. I'm sorry if I wasn't clear on that. So back on this webpage, and again, the link is out there. If you ever need it, just text us. We get this out to you pretty easy. Here's some questions to help define what we are calling a project. So I guess I should say, to be clear, a project in DHRM, to be sanctioned or whatever, it needs to go through this process. So you're asking, okay, well then tell me what a project is, right? So these questions over on the left side, I just pointed my screen like you could see me. Is it going to take more than 2 weeks to do this? And you got to understand, even if it's just your team, you have a 3-person team and you guys come up with a salt pepper goal or something, and you're like, oh man, it takes 3 weeks for us to do this, but we're not going to pull odd-bit, we're not going to pull DTS, so we don't have to jump through this, go through this process, right? I would argue that that's not true, because remember back to the portfolio, Debbie's got to know the opportunity cost of the decisions that are being made by people that are inside the portfolio. Does that was pretty, wow. All right, that was like my 3-legged stool graphic. I'll start over. You need to know if somebody's offline, you want them to go and focus on the project, get the project done so they can put the next thing on the plate, right? if somebody's off doing something and no one else knows about it, I hope that's clear that becomes a problem. So anyway, here's the questions. One, is it going to take more than 2 weeks? You know, if it's just something easy, just do it. But more than 2 weeks. Does it require people other than those on your team? So, you know, yes, I need to borrow somebody from recruitment, you know, on the recruitment side. That's a project, because you can't expect to go and steal somebody just because they're your friend or something. You can't just put them on your team because they're nice and they don't say no. We need to, you know, managers need to be able to manage their own resources. So that's one of the reasons it goes through this group. Does it require funding? That's a critical issue because, you know, of course, we get all our money at the beginning of the year, and we have to make sure we've got enough towards the end of the year for the stuff that's going to come, like right after the session or whatever. Does it require DTS or odd bit? Because, again, we're shared resources. We're tug of war. We're right in the middle. We're the rope that gets pulled in every direction. And so if you need us, for an extended period of time, let's call it that. If you just need a project, of course, you just, you know, from odd bit, like a report or something, you know, you just submit it that way. And if you're not sure whether the project you've got is going to align, or, you know, if it's even a sober idea, you should probably answer the questions, you know, in the form. We might come back to you in that pre-screening phase and just say, yeah, you don't need to, this isn't really a project. I mean, it's not a project that rises to this level, so, you know, go forth and do it. There's no harm in going through this, obviously. So.
All right, great. There's one last question that's come in. It says, Mike showed how the portal listed the pillars and SMART goals that were applicable. I wondered how that information was entered in the portal. Is it manually entered by JJ, the project manager?
Oh. Yeah, okay, so you're talking about the Prezi. This was actually something Ashley came up with. It's pretty awesome. We had no idea. How do you gather up goals and show alignment in them? And so we came up with a Prezi. We were trying to do all this. Anyway, this was the best idea we could come up with. It's pretty fun. It is very interesting because you can now see what other people are doing. Well, shouldn't have zoomed out that fast. But anyway, that was Eric saying, boy, I'd love to have real-time information updates. And so the field.dws has a really long goal that I'm too tired to read. But no, we entered this manually into Prezi to answer that question directly. We won't do that with every project, but for this one, we didn't think goals were going to change that often, so we thought just a static graphic is what we would do.
Well, I think she's asking, too, about stuff that's entered for salt and pepper goals. Is that put into the portal for everyone to see automatically, or does JJ enter it into that portal? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, if it rises to the level of a project or an odd bit project, yeah, it'll be on our dashboards. Otherwise, you'll just see it here.
Okay.
Will JJ be the one entering it?
JJ or Ashley. You can see how many we have there on internal process improvement. Sounds like, you know, that's a pretty cool area for us to focus on right now.
Okay, it looks like that is all the questions that have come into us. So, wow, we have taught you how to snoop on your neighbor today. We've showed you frightening graphics of three-legged stools. What more could you ask for in a webinar? So if you have any other questions, please feel free to contact Mike or Jeremy on the subject matter. And otherwise, that's the conclusion of today's webinar. We thank you for your attendance.